directed by Darren Aronofsky and starring Brendan Fraser, is one of my most anticipated films of the year. This is a movie that I've waited for a long time, mostly because I'm a really big Brendan Fraser fan, and also I love Darren Aronofsky's films because they deal with really hard topics that not many filmmakers touch upon, and this film is no exception. I've loved a lot of his previous movies, including Mother, Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan. This one deals with Charlie, who is 600 pounds, and it is a very difficult life, the one he leads, because he has an estranged family, he has very bad health problems, and the film deals a lot with that. And over the course of the movie, I found myself very sad on different parts, also very reflective. And I think it's a movie that is designed to play with your emotions, but also with, the way a lot of people present their different problems. Because this movie is not only about Charlie, it deals with a cast of like 4 or 5 different characters who each have their own problems. And I feel like the way it balances everything, it does it in a really fantastic way. I feel like this movie really lived up to the hype, and today I'm going to explain why. So overall, the movie has a lot of very important themes, and from the very beginning, I feel like it makes you realize that it's not going to have a happy ending. I'm going to get into light spoilers, but I feel like the movie does a good job at just like showing to you that this is not an easy life. The one Charlie is living, he has really bad health issues. His like decisions lead him to like some really depressing moments, and also the way like his life affects other people is shown in some really drastic ways. I feel like it doesn't really try to romanticize like obesity or depression. I feel like it has a really good balance in showing how like this affects other people, how it affects somebody's personal problems, their career, the way they have a relationship with other people, but also shows it through a very empathetic lens. I feel like this movie like is very empathetic, and that's something a lot of people would not agree on, but I feel like it shows in a couple ways. I feel like Darren Aronofsky really balanced a lot of these situations and shows us a really important case for having empathy for people. I think he explained in an interview how like sometimes like fat, obese people are portrayed in some ways as punchlines. And this one shows like a pathetic lens in a life many people live, but nobody really talks about. And also the movie, even though it shows a lot of like the depressing aspects of Charlie's life, it also has a lot of moments of joy, and that is something I really appreciated because I feel like some of the main themes of the movie is the way that even in the worst situations you can find joy, and you can have some really fun moments with other people, even people who are not in the best terms with you. Like it shows sometimes with his daughter, but also with another character who takes care of him, which is like his previous boyfriend's sister. I feel like those moments in the beginning were really good in the first day, like the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then over the course you have like these kind of like small glimmers of hope, and that is something the movie shows really well, especially in the end, which I'll get to in a little bit. Also, I gotta appreciate the artistic direction of the film. I feel like it did a really good job, especially with the aspect ratio, kind of like the old feeling of the movie, and it has like some really creative choices of some cinematography and all that. But also, I gotta appreciate really like a lot the acting. I feel like this is Brendan Fraser's best roles to date, and it's a really great comeback. I feel like we're in the middle of the Renaissance, the Brendan Fraser's comeback into the film world, and this is a fantastic start. I feel like he's a great actor. He puts a lot of heart and soul, and I feel like this is going to be the beginning of his, like streak of good movies that he's going to be making. And I feel like he really deserves the Oscar for the best actor because this movie he really shines in it. He shows a lot of emotion. He shows like a lot of different aspects of this character that you're supposed to feel a lot of things about Charlie. He does a really good job at, doing this role. So some of the other characters in the film are Ellie, which is Charlie's daughter. I feel like she's a very complex character that you're supposed to kind of hate in the beginning, and then you kind of understand why she is the way she is, because she's like a really bad person. She says some really hurtful things to her father, and it's understandable the way she feels that way. She feels abandoned. She feels like her life was really hard due to life circumstances, but also I feel like at times she wasn't necessarily evil, and that's something the movie doesn't really go in too much. Like she doesn't really get that redemption arc that like characters like Charlie kind of sort of get at the end. I feel like this movie doesn't really kind of have to show redemption for all these characters. Like everybody's really flawed. That's something I have to say about the plot of the movie. Characters such as the other guy like Thomas, who is like a missionary for a different religion, he is going to Charlie's house because he wants to save him. He wants him to join his religion, and like he's a massively flawed character. Like it shows a lot of self-interest for that character, and over the course of the movie, you start getting like to the true character's intentions. And I feel like every single one has a lot of problems. The movie doesn't really go too much into detail to how they can be redeemed. I feel like the movie's main core message is how these characters have each their own problems, each their own expression of those problems. Sometimes they're hurtful, sometimes they try to make amends, apologize. But in the end, I feel like everybody's really flawed. And the movie does a great job at showing like sometimes in life that's how it is. Like some people are flawed. They won't change their ways, but we have to somehow deal with that. And that is shown until the very end. So another one of the big themes of the movie was mental health. I feel like it does a good job at addressing those issues that a lot of people have with mental health, but like I said, as I said before, it doesn't have much resolution. It just kind of like goes to show how a lot of people deal with, issues surrounding their body, surrounding their habits, how they treat other people. For example, Ellie has a really severe anger issues, who she expresses. Like Charlie's way of dealing with problems is kind of like with with food and with basically like harming himself through this like these methods. Liz tries to kind of like help Charlie, but also she has her own problems, her own trauma. It also shows like some of her brother, like her brother's backstory, Charlie's ex-boyfriend, who was revealed, well, light spoilers, like he dies before the events of the film. It also shows how like the religion that Thomas is a part of impacted his mind. So it also kind of like has that theme with religious trauma shown in the brother, and that's something that like happens throughout the movie. They explain through like the dialogues and conversations. So in the end, I feel like that's the main takeaway of the movie: how like everybody has their own problems. Sometimes they don't get resolved, and sometimes those problems affect us. But also, it goes to show how everybody's human and everybody deserves sympathy, no matter what stage of healing they are. So anyways, those are most of my thoughts. I feel like the movie has a lot to like process, a lot to like understand, but I really enjoyed the way it did it. I feel like it's a movie that's kind of like basically in the style of Darren Aronofsky. Like for example, his movie Mother was very controversial, but also sparked a lot of discussions. This movie's kind of the same. It shows things you don't really want to think about, like themes and problems and people, but I feel like they're really necessary. And I think art is supposed to make people uncomfortable sometimes, and I feel like The Whale excels at the in this department. So anyways, those are most of my thoughts. The Whale is going to get an 88 out of 100. I feel like it's a great movie. Really, I mean, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I appreciate a lot this movie. I would like prefer a lot of people to think about it, to watch it and form their own conclusion. So anyways, those are pretty much all my thoughts about The Whale. It was really worth the wait. I've been waiting for this movie for a long time, and I've been waiting for Brendan Fraser's return for a long time, and I feel like it delivered in all those fronts. But anyways, those are all my thoughts for today, so I'll see you next time, and get prepared for more videos this week. So goodbye.